Tonight, slow your breathing, let your shoulders relax. Imagine the world before electricity, before maps were precise, before science explained every shadow. In the ancient world, places were not just land, they were believed to feel, to remember, and sometimes to punish across history. Civilizations identified certain real locations as cursed. These were not fairy tales created centuries later. These fears were recorded by priests, historians, travelers, and rulers of their time. Entire cities were abandoned. Sacred grounds were sealed. People refused to sleep, build, or even speak loudly in these places. Tonight, we will walk slowly through the ancient world and explore real locations that humans believed were cursed and treated as such for generations. We begin in ancient Greece. The island of Delos was once one of the most sacred places in the Mediterranean. According to Greek belief, it was the birthplace of Apollo and Artemis. The island was considered so pure that birth and death were forbidden there. Pregnant women and dying men were removed by law. Graves were relocated to other islands. For centuries, Delos flourished as a religious and commercial center. But when wars disrupted trade and political protection vanished, Delos emptied. What followed was not simple abandonment, it was fear. Ancient writers describe how later visitors reported overwhelming dread after sunset. People claimed the silence felt heavy, unnatural. Fishermen refused to sleep on shore. Traders avoided staying overnight. Even hardened sailors believed something had changed. Delos became a place you visited briefly and left before nightfall, far to the east. In Mesopotamia, there was a city whose name became a warning. Akkad. Akkad was the capital of one of the first empires in human history, but after its collapse, ancient inscriptions describe divine punishment so severe that the city itself was erased. Later kings wrote that the gods cursed Akkad's soil, poisoned its water, and turned prosperity into ruin. What makes Akkad truly disturbing is this: archaeologists have never definitively found it. Ancient texts explicitly warn future rulers not to rebuild the city. They describe famine, madness, and death striking anyone who tried, whether environmental disaster or something more. Akkad vanished so completely that its location remains unknown. A cursed city, lost to the earth, in ancient Rome. Curses were not abstract beliefs, they were written, buried, and feared after the fall of the Western Roman Empire. The Colosseum became a place of terror at night. Locals believed the spirits of thousands who died within its walls never left. Medieval accounts describe strange noises, sudden accidents, and men found dead without visible wounds for centuries. People scavenged stone from the Colosseum only during daylight. At night, it belonged to something else. Even criminals avoided hiding there after sunset. Rome itself changed, but fear remained. Now we travel south to ancient Egypt, where curses were intentional. Egyptians believed words had power beyond death. Some curses were not symbolic, they were warnings. One forgotten example is the burial complex of Pharaoh Sekhenkhed. His pyramid was sealed suddenly and never completed. Ancient records describe deaths among workers, tools abandoned mid-task, and rituals performed to contain something inside. The tomb remained untouched for thousands of years. Even grave robbers avoided it. When modern explorers entered, they found silence and emptiness, but also signs of abrupt abandonment that could not be explained easily. The builders walked away and never returned. In Anatolia, the mighty capital of the Hittite Empire, Hattusa, was deserted without clear cause. No great fire, no final battle, no mass graves. Archaeological evidence shows entire neighborhoods left intact, food storage rooms untouched, walls standing strong, and yet everyone left. Later cultures avoided rebuilding the city. Ancient texts speak of divine anger and ritual pollution. The land was considered unsafe. A city built for power, abandoned in silence. In ancient China, certain locations were permanently marked as forbidden due to spiritual imbalance. Near the ruins of Yinzhou, the last Qing capital, ancient records describe land where the boundary between the living and the dead was believed to weaken. People reported intense nightmares, hallucinations, and sudden illness after staying too long. Dynasties rose and fell, but the warnings remained. The land was left largely undeveloped for centuries, not because people forgot, but because they remembered. Across the ocean, in the ancient Americas, the city of Teotihuacan stood empty long before Europeans arrived. When the Aztecs encountered it, they did not rebuild or inhabit it. They believed the gods themselves abandoned the city after a catastrophic event, despite its immense pyramids and perfect streets. Teotihuacan was treated as sacred and dangerous. The Aztecs visited to perform rituals and then left. In northern Europe, ancient forests were feared as cursed spaces. One such forest near early Germanic settlements was avoided for generations after travelers disappeared within it. Roman writers recorded that locals refused to enter, believing the forest consumed those who disrespected it. No settlement, no roads, just silence. In the ancient Near East, cities declared cursed were sometimes deliberately erased from records. Names were scratched from stone, maps destroyed. Memory itself was seen as dangerous, because in the ancient world, a cursed place did not just harm the body. It threatened order, balance, and the favor of the gods. Modern science suggests explanations: disease, climate collapse, toxins, seismic activity. But ancient people did not need explanations to act. They left. They sealed doors. They warned their children, and those warnings lasted longer than empires. As you lie still and allow sleep to come closer, remember this: history is not only written in books, it is written in ruins, in empty spaces, in cities no one rebuilt. Some places were abandoned for practical reasons, others were abandoned because people believed something stayed behind, and sometimes belief is enough to shape history forever.